is a very tough.
I think we lost Ahilan. Ahilan has curated this event. He should be soon back with us. And as we know, there is a severe electricity problem in Sri Lanka. And apart from that, all these friends, poets have been here with us. We will just wait for Ahilan for a minute, and I would want him to tell us about the curation of the event. In the meanwhile, Shashank, can you please tell the audience a little more about Kaavya Sanje events and during the pandemic, whatever we did?
Sure. As you all know, before the pandemic, we were organizing a lot of poetry events in public spaces in Bangalore. So in and around the Cubbon Park metro station, in market spaces around central Bangalore, and various other events, Rangoli Metro Art Center, the Freedom Park. And our endeavor has always been to, as I said in the introduction to Kaavya Sanje, is to bring poetry closer to people, and vice versa. Also, we try to, bring translations to people, because I think that is one of the more important tasks in a society as diverse as ours, with diverse linguistic backgrounds. But during the pandemic, we were a little uncertain in the beginning as to how it is going to work, how are we going to continue to do what we do. But we stayed undeterred and we went online. We started organizing curated poetry events with poets from around the world. So not just from India, but from all over the world. We began with a few Kannada poets. We read their translations. And eventually we also got in touch with, poets from Europe, poets from South America, United States of America, various parts of the world, and who write on various subjects and diverse subjects. And we would translate some of their work, and some of their already translated work we would read and sort of bring them to the audiences who love poetry. And we have been really lucky that a lot of our audiences have been regular with us. So they keep coming up for all our events, and because they truly enjoy poetry, without looking at it from the lens of a single linguistic background. So we have true lovers of poetry.
I would like to add something here with Shashank. One thing Kaavya Sanje has realized is, one second. Well, it was Ahilan who was logging in soon. And what Kaavya Sanje realized was, usually people say that, poetry in this age when social media is so active and other things, does poetry make any sense? But we have realized it does. And it straight away touches the heart. There comes Ahilan. Thank you, Shashank, for engaging.
Sorry.
Yes. It's okay. Ahilan?
Yeah, should I start from the beginning or what happened?
Yeah, you start talking about how you curated, and why you curated, and it's so nice that you have put up this whole curation together. Yeah, Ahlan.
So, so tell me, ma'am, the whole things, you got it, or should I start from the beginning?
You can start from the beginning.
Okay, thanks a lot, ma'am. So I'm so sorry for the audience for the interruption. So namaskara, vanakkam, aibuan, assalamu alaikum, and good evening. Good evening. First of all, I would like to thank poet and academic Mamta Sagar and friends of Kaavya Sanje for organizing this event. So we all know this is a very tough and difficult time for the people living in Sri Lanka. So I appreciate the friends Kaavya Sanje for their solidarity with the people of Sri Lanka in this hard time. Once the tiny island of Sri Lanka was named Queen of the Islands and the Land of the Dreams. As we all aware, it became a nightmare soon after the independence, and the Queen of the Islands turned into the Blood Island in the background of post-colonial nationalistic politics of Sri Lanka. This Sinhala Buddhist hegemony marginalized the minorities and made them others of the country. This hegemony invested racial prejudice to develop the vote bank of the political parties, which turned into the state violence, followed by the counter violence by the minorities. We all know the armed struggle against the Sri Lankan state by the Tamil youth ended with the mass killings and devastations in 2009. So the government pumped millions of rupees for the more than 3 decades civil war. With their inappropriate economic policies, mismanagement, and the corruption, Sri Lanka became one of the world's poorest countries now. It made the future of the people of Sri Lanka very uncertain. The situation has stimulated the new civic politics, which calls for a change in the political system in Sri Lanka. The minorities wish for more accommodation in the background of minority rights and justice. In this context, today's poetry reading is based on the concept of solidarity with its multiple dimensions and believe that art is source of solidarity and circulate solidarity with the people as a form of practice and action. For this reading, I choose poets from the 3 ethnic communities as symbol of the diversity of the nation, and they read in their own languages, either in Sinhala or Tamil, along with the English translation. This reading as a forum for understanding and discussing the world in and of Sri Lanka. So thank you. So I'm going to invite the first poet, Seetha Ranjini. So Seetha Ranjini is a senior journalist, writer, poet, media activist, researcher, and the trainer. She started her career as a broadcast journalist in 1979, and later in 1986, she stepped into the print media, where she edited several significant periodicals. She held many influential positions in organizations for the media freedom, such as the convener of Free Media Movement in Sri Lanka, the national organizer of the South Asian Women in Media. As a poet and writer, she has published 15 books so far. She received several awards for the journalism. In 2012, Sepala Gunasena Media Freedom Award by the Editors Guild of Sri Lanka, and in journalism, Excellence Award in 2004. She received Best Reporting for Social Development. Seetha Ranjini is actually, Seetha Ranjini is unwell now. So her throat and lungs is not much support her continuous reading or speaking. So I thank my bottom of the heart that she was agreed me to read one poem for us. And I thank to Kaushalya. He only supports all these process. And also I would like to thank Madhubashni Radnayaka. She was translated Seetha Ranjini's poems in a very short time span. So I would like to invite Seetha Ranjini ma'am to read her poem. So
Ahilan, can you ask her to switch on the camera, please?
Yeah, okay. So this is an honor for us. So I will call her.
I think she's switching on the camera.
Okay, okay. Kaushalya, can you ask her to read the first poem?
Thank you very much, Seetha Ranjini, for being here with us. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you, Mamta. Thank you, Ahilan. And thank you, Kaushalya. According to my understanding, I think you want the poem Shape as my first poem.
Yeah. Once you read the first poem, the translation will be read by a friend from here. Arundathi Gosh. Yeah, Arundathi will read the translation.
I will read first one.
Yeah.
I think I can't perform it.
That's okay.
Just I can only read.
All right.
Because very difficult to talk and read at the moment. So, Hadaya. Egama edavasa අච්චු පොත්වල අච්චු අකුරක හැඩය මට ලැබුණා අච්චුවෙන් පිට පැන්න හින්දා ඒ හැඩය බිඳුණා හමන සුළඟ වගේ කොහොමද අසීරු වෙන්නේ වහින වැස්ස වගේ කොහොමද අසීරු වෙන්නේ පිටතින් බලා හැකි වේවි ඔබට ඇතුළතින් බලා හැකි වේවි ඔබට ලබා දෙන්න මට හැඩයක් ඔබ කැමති හැඩයක් සමාජයේ දිග පළල මැන ශරීරයේම හරිදුම් බිඳගෙන දුවන මේ දිවි ගමන හින්දා දේවි මට ඔබ හැඩයක් ඔබ කැමති හැඩයක් මගේ නොවනා වහලා මගේ නොවනා ප්‍රේමයක් මගේ නොවනා ලෝකයක් මගේ කරගත් නිසාවෙන් දේවි මට ඔබ හැඩයක් ඔබ කැමති හැඩයක් කුමකටද මට හැඩයක් Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. It gives me great pleasure and it's an honor to read this poem in translation in English. Thank you. The Shape. In a village, on a particular day, I got the shape of a printed letter in a printed book. Having jumped out of that letterpress mold, I lost it. How do you become difficult like the blowing wind? How do you become difficult like the pouring rain? You can watch from outside, you can watch from inside and give me a shape, any shape you like. Because the journey of life runs according to social yardsticks and great pain to the body. You will give me a shape, any shape you like. Because I made mine, a roof that was not mine, a love that was not mine, a world that was not mine. You will give me a shape, any shape you like. Why do I need a shape? Thank you.
Beautiful. And this Arundathi is a dear friend and she is part of India Foundation of Art and who has presented your poem so beautifully today. Thank you, Arundathi, for being with us. And Ahilan will...
I would like to invite Kaushalya to read the rest of the poems. Kaushalya is a PhD scholar and a short story writer and columnist. So he is going to read the rest of the poems of the Seetha Ranjini ma'am.
Yeah, Arundathi, you can switch on your camera and because I have put all the three of you in the frame. Yeah. Kaushalya will read the next poem.
Thank you. And it's an honor to read this for Seetha Akka.
And thank you, Kaushalya, for agreeing and being with us in the very short time. You know,
it's a pleasure. And thank you for asking me to do this. The second poem, Banata. Vadune ekama ek boot parai. Shell vadunu gaya penna penna saapa kala waradata. ඒ වයසක මිනිස්සයා රාමසාමි මගේ සීයා පොළව බදාගෙන වැටුණා. මිනි ගොඩෙන් එකක් වුණා. වකුටු වෙලා බිම ඉඳගත් රාසම්මා මගේ ආච්චි කාටවත්ම පලිදරුවේ නැහැ. පරිස්සමට ගිහින් හිටිය කඳ උරක් කළ පල්ලියේ වහල බිඳ පතිත වූ ෂෙල් වෙඩිල්ලෙන් කැබලි වූ තාත්තා දැක්කෙවත් නෑ අපි. පාර්වතී මගේ අම්මා පර්වතයක් වගේ තනි හිතකින් බර දැරුවා අපේ. බඩ රස්සාවට මුහුදු ගිය මගේ මනිරාරම වෙඩි වැදුණු මල මිනිහක් වෙරළට ගොඩ ගසා තිබුණා. අපි එකට හිටියේ එකම එක අවුරුද්දයි. නුඹව කුස දරාගත් වයස 15ක ගැබිනියක් මක් කරන්නද මගේ දුවේ. ඔබ දැක්කෙවත් නැති ඒ උඹේ තාත්තා වෙරළේම බලතම ආවා. පරම්පරා 3ක ගැහැණුන් වූ අපට වැන්දඹු යෝගය උදා කළ ගොඩබිම අහස මුහුද සියල්ලම අපට අහිමි කළ ඒ නරක කාලයේ අවසන් එනවාලු සාමය තොග පිටින් මේ බිමට සිල්ලරටවත් ටිකක් මේ ගමට නාවා. එක ගෙදර එකට හිටි මා දන්න මගේ පවුලේ 4 වෙනි පරම්පරාවයි අද දීග යන්නේ. ගෞරවී මගේ දුවේ ඒ වගේ කාලයක් අපි ඉල්ලා ගත්තේ නැති වුණාට ඒ වගේ කාලයක් කිසිදා ඕනේ නැති වුණා. පරිස්සම්බයන් පුතේ රඝුනාද දුව බලාගත්තේ මම බබා වගේ ඇහි. Thank you.
To my son-in-law, only one boot strike was needed for the fault of cursing as he pointed at his shelled out home to make that old man, Ramasamy, my grandfather, fall, hugging the earth, to become one among the many corpses. Rasamma, my grandmother, who sat down bent in a curve, cursed no one. In a church-turned camp to which they had gone for safety, a shell broke through the roof to fall down and shatter my father into smithereens. Parvati, my mother, bore us then with a mind like a Parvata, a stone. My Manimaran, who went to sea for his job, needed to appease hunger, returned as a bullet-ridden corpse, washed up upon the beach. We had been together just for 1 year. I was a 15-year-old widow, pregnant with you. What was I to do, my daughter? That father of yours you had never seen? I buried on the shore itself and came home. That inauspicious time which took everything away from us, the earth, the sky, and the sea, and brought the mark of widowhood to 3 generations of women, is supposed to be ending, bringing peace wholesale into this land, though our village has not got a bit of it, even as a retail. It is one from the 4th generation. I know from my family living together in one house, who weds today, my daughter, Gauravi. Though we never asked for such a time, though we never wanted an era like that, take care, Raghunathan, my son. My daughter I had looked after like the apple of my eye.
Wow, what a poem. My God, Arundathi, when you read, I want you to say a few words about the poems that you have been reading, about Seetha Ranjini's poems.
Actually, it's very difficult to say anything because my voice is still trembling. I have goosebumps and it's just, it is so particular to a space, to a particular time, to a particular person's or a community's history. But at the same time, when I read this, I'm thinking of my father, who was a refugee from East Bengal, moving across during partition. And when I used to hear him talk, I used to hear his family members talk, or, hear people who have moved either in exile or as refugees. How that language, how that those stories are so similar. Even the words seem like I'm hearing Bangla in the Sinhala that you're reading. I can hear my Bangla through the English translation. I think that's the beauty of translations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Kausalya, would you please read the next poem?
Yeah. සැහැල්ලුව ජනේලෙට තට්ටු කරනවා පැණිකුරුල්ලේ කුළුඳුලේ ඇස ගැටුණු කිරිල්ලියක්ද සොයන්න වීදුරු වාසය වහන්න හිතන්නේ කොහොමද එහෙම තමාසේ පෙනෙන අනේකාද විය හැකීනේ අනේ සැහැල්ලුම කුරුළු කය ලපටි හිරු එළිය තුරුළු කරගත් අරහස් තීරය ජනේලෙන් පෙනෙන සුන්දරම පාට පාටින් ඉතින් ඇස් අර බලන්නයි ඉඟි බිඟි පානවා වශීකృత නිලාතර බැබලෙන සුන්දරම පාට පාටි වේදනාවෙන් තොර නින්දක් වේදනාවෙන් තොර අවදියක් මතකයේ නැති දිගු කාලයක් කුරුල්ලෝ කිරිල්ලියන් සොයන්නට ඇති කිරිල්ලියෝ කුරුල්ලන් සොයන්නට ඇති එකෙක් අනේකා සොයන්නට ඇති පාට පාටින් අහස ඉඟි බිඟි කරන්න ඇති සැහැල්ලුයි මේ කය පියාඹන්නට හිතෙයි මට වසන්තය ඇවිත් මගේ සයනයට මේ උදෑසන අරින්නට බැරි වුණත් ඇස් පෙනෙනවා මට අහස ඇහෙන්නේ නැති වුණත් කන් ඇහෙනවා තට්ටු වේදනාව හැර ගියාද සැහැල්ලුව තුරුළු කරගත්තාද කුරුල්ලෝ දැන් ඉතින් පියාඹමු. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Lightness. A hummingbird taps the window. Is he looking for a mate he had met before hiding behind the glass? But why think so? It could actually be the other we see as ourselves. Oh gosh, that lightweight bird body. That blue streak of sky hugging the early sun rays seen through the window in the loveliest of colors. Can I open my eyes to see it flirt with the loveliest of colors shining on the mesmerizing blue? A painless sleep, a wakefulness without pain, is not even a memory in the long stretch of time. Birds may have looked for their hens, and hens may have searched for their birds. One could have looked for one's other. The sky would have flirted with its myriad colors. This body is lightweight. I feel like flying. Spring has come to my bed. This morning, even though my eyes cannot be opened, I see the sky. Even though my ears are now sealed, I hear the tap. Did the pain leave? Or did I embrace the lightness? Birds, come, let's fly.
Beautiful. Ahilan, I have brought you
Yeah.
into the screen.
So,
Thank you very much, Arundathi. Thanks a lot. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Thanks a lot. Kaushalya, can you say something about Seetha Ranjini ma'am's poem as a good reader of the Sinhala literature?
Yeah, I think it's I mean these three poems has like three different thematic contexts. The last one we read that was certain it's a bit difficult to like since I know Seetha Akka quite a long time and her current health situation, and I think it has certain connotations of that also. I think like I think how beautifully she has written, she has poeticized her existence in a way. That is something I felt reading some poems, and then the one before that to son-in-law, that how the way that she captured that the violence and this especially this even after the war, people usually say now it's peace, but in that poem she very like in a profound way she captures that peace, how uncertain that can be, that I think you know that properly as a person from Jaffna, that though, like, in a like popularly we say, now there's no war, but that uncertainty still we share. She captures that very in a profound way. So I think she's a very she's one of the best poets we have in Sri Lanka. So and I wish her good health, and it's quite painful thing to see that she's in this this current condition, but still she writes very beautifully.
Thank you, Kaushalya. Ahilan, would you like to say anything about?
No, actually, so this is the first time I heard her poem because I can't read Sinhala, so that's a problem. But I felt that I lost how much because of no, I did not able to read the Sinhala. So thank you very much, Seetha, for this opportunity for us and honor. And also, I would like to thank again Kaushalya and Madhubhashini Ratnayaka. You people are help that much to organize this with Seetha. Thank you very much.
And on behalf of Kaavya Sanje and audience here, I would really, really thank Seetha Akka for being with us and bringing these amazing poems. Thank you very much. Ahilan, can we call the next poet? Will you please introduce him?
Yes. So the next part from the ethnically speaking, the Muslim community, Rashmy Ahmed. Rashmy is a poet, writer, and visual artist. He was born in eastern part of Sri Lanka and currently lives in England. He has published 4 poetry collection in Tamil. His new collection of poems entitled Adaivu Kalathin Padalgal, and the collection of short stories will be published this year, I hope. So his poems and stories have been translated into Malayalam and English. So I call upon Rashmi to read his poems now.
Rashmi, can you please switch on your camera? Yeah, here he is. I'll just pin him. Welcome, Rashmi.
Hi. Thanks all. அடைவு காலத்தில் பாடல் 1. இரண்டாம் தளத்தில் ஆளுயர எண்ணலை தாண்டி 3 நிறை மரங்கள் நிறைய சொரியும் இலைகளை விடவும் சரிந்த பூக்கள் விழுந்து பரவ அடுத்து நீண்ட புல்லின் வெளியில் ஊர்ந்து ஏறும் பகல் திரும்ப அங்கிருந்து நகரும் பொழுது குளிரை வீசும் காற்றில் உயிர்ந்து மாயும் வேனில் கொள்ளாமல் போய்க்கழியும் நாளொன்றாய் நாளெது ஏதுகிழமை அறியாது அழியும் பருவ முடிவில் மரங்கள் உதிர்ந்த இடங்களில் இலைகள் துளிர்த்த வாசலில் இனியும் பறவைகள்.
I would now invite Professor Abhi Subedi. Can you please switch on the camera?
Hello. Can you
Yes. One second. Let me introduce Professor Abhi Subedi. We are having him for the first time on Kaavya Sanje. Welcome, Professor Abhi Subedi. He actually is from Nepal. He is a Nepali poet, playwright, columnist, translator, linguist, and critic. And he is agreed to join us and read translations of Rashmi today. So, the poet is from London, joining us, and the person who's reading the translation is also a poet who's joining us from Nepal. And I please invite you to please go ahead and read.
Thank you very much. I'm so pleased to be a part of this wonderful poetry reading and be able to find this. With these words, I'd like to greet you and thank you, Dr. Mamta Sagar, for inviting me to join this poetry reading. So do we read all the 3 songs here? There are 3 songs.
Yeah, he read the first one. You can read the translation, the first translation, first bit.
Okay. I'm going to read the first one first.
That is song 1.
On the second floor, song 1. This is the title is song 1. On the second floor, a full-length window. Beyond the window, 3 rows of trees. In the trees, an effusion of leaves. More than leaves, an abundance of flowers. Flowers scattered, spread, and beyond a stretch of pasture. In the pasture, the creeping rising day. The day turns, from there it retreats. As it retreats, a cool spread of breeze. In the breeze, a shading, dying summer. Summer unfelt in the passage of a lost day. What day, what week, an oblivious wasted season. The season ends and trees shade. Where they shade, they begin to leave. Leaves bud at the threshold and still the birds. What a beautiful translation and poem.
And please, I also request people to read the name of the translators. I think this poem
The
is
translator, the name of the translator is
Nedra Rodrigo.
Nedra Rodrigo.
And I think even the poets can introduce the translators. Rashmi, yeah, you can please read the second poem.
பாடல் 2. வெறும் காம்புகளில் மென்பச்சையாய் பச்சை தோன்ற 100 பகல் பொழுதுகளாகின்றன. 2 பச்சைகளுக்கிடையே 2 நூறுகள். குருத்து, அடர், இருட்டு என பச்சையம் நிறம் விரிய 100 100 100 தரம் சூரியன் இளநீர்கிறது. பருவத்தின் முதல் பூ தோன்ற காம்புகள் கிளர்ந்ததில் இருந்து 1000 இரவுகளாகின்றன. ஊதாவில் இருந்து அல்லது இளஞ்சிவப்பில் இருந்து லைலக் நிறத்தில் முடிவதற்கு இரவுகள் 1000 காத்திருக்க வேண்டியிருக்கிறது. ஒரு பொழுதுக்குள் நிகழ்ந்து விடவில்லை மாயம் எதுவும். ஒரு பூவுக்குள் அடங்குவதில்லை காலம் எதுவும்.
Now, I am going to read the second poem, Song 2. It takes the span of 100 days for a tender green to appear on the bare branches. Between 2 shades of green, 200 and 100 times the sun must rise, that the shades of green, sapling, dense, dark, may unfurl. It takes 1,000 nights and the emergence of the season's first flower. The waiting of 1,000 nights between a beginning in purple or in pink and an ending in a shade of lilac. No magic happens within a single day. Era is contained within a single poem translated by Nedra Rodrigo.
I just got to know that Nedra has joined the meeting. That is wonderful. After you read the third poem, I would also want Nedra to join us in the discussion. Rashmi, please go ahead.
பாடல் 3. அவன் தனது கவிதைக்குள் காட்டின் மூலத்தை கண்டுபிடித்தான். கடலாகி பெருக்கெடுக்கும் ஊற்றை அறிந்தான். வானம் உயர்த்தப்பட்ட தூண்கள் 4ஐயும் சொன்னான். மலைகள் முளையுன்றப்பட்ட இடத்தை காட்டினான். ஆதாமினது என்று சந்தேகிக்கப்படுகின்ற தலையோட்டினை அகழ்ந்தெடுத்தார். ஆதி ஆப்பிளின் மீதியை நட்டார். நெருப்பினது மூலக்கூற்று சேர்மானத்தை பரிசோதித்தார். எதிர்பாராது பிடரையில் முத்தமிடுவது பெண்களுக்கு பிடிக்கும் என்று தெரிந்து கொண்டார். மரணிக்காது தப்பிப்பதற்காக ஒளிந்து கொண்டார். அங்கே அவனுக்கு முதல் மரணம் இருந்தது.
The third poem, Song 3. Within his poem, he discovered the root of the forest. He knew the wellspring that erupted into an ocean. Beautiful. He knew the wellspring that erupted into an ocean. He spoke of the four pillars that held up the skies. He revealed the core where mountains swell. He unearthed the skull thought to belong to Adam. He planted the remains of the ends in apple. He tasted the alchemical combination of fire. He learned that women like a surprise kiss on the nape, seeking to escape death. He hid. Death was there before him.
Beautiful. Thank you, Professor
Thank you.
Subedi, for reading this. And Nedra, please switch on your camera. And Professor Subedi, can you please say a few words about, respond to these poems?
These poems are very brilliant. Some of the this poet has captured about nature and very visceral the power that he has introduced in the poem, and captured the rhythm of nature and trees and the very close proximity of nature and humankind.
Yeah.
And so closely associated with nature, the poem makes you feel as though you are talking about very closest friends of yours, closest neighbors of yours,
Yeah.
the human being, as if they are the human beings who suffer, who enjoy. The days and years erupt. The translation is brilliantly done. The rhythm is maintained.
Nedra Rodrigo, can you please switch on your camera? I would like you to join the meeting. Nedra, I think.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah. Please, I can see you here.
Okay.
Thank you for such a wonderful translation and being with us. Would you like to tell a few words about Rashmi's poems and your translation, and what interested you to translate his poems and whatever? Ahilan, I also want you to join in this.
Yeah, ma'am. I think I will ask the question to Rashmi a little later because Chandrashi have a electricity problem again there. So
Okay.
I quickly call her to read next. After that only I will join with Rashmi again.
All right. Yeah, all right. Nedra, can you please tell us?
I didn't really, I haven't really prepared for this, but what draws me to translate Rashmi's poetry is very obviously, I think, the cadence of it. There's so much music, I think, that really unfurls in Rashmi's poetry, and that when I first read him, it took me back to childhood travels in the East Coast. It really brought those memories back. And Rashmi is really remarkable in the way he maps the Muslim experience in Sri Lanka, which is not often sort of represented in poetry, right? So he maps these journeys and this relationship with nature that makes it profoundly Muslim and profoundly Tamil at the same time, right? So it's just such a great example of these different traditions that influence Tamil, and the permeability of Tamil to these different traditions, right?
Yeah.
So the third poem is from the Matnavi of Rumi, but when I was talking to Rashmi about it, he said, "Oh, these are stories that he heard in school, in Islamic school when he was growing up." But so there's, I mean, I could talk about Rashmi for hours, but I think that's enough. We'll probably move on to the next.
So beautiful, and your translations are amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
a lot for being here with us and agreeing to come and quickly, like instantly, I just called you and you said such beautiful things about Rashmi's poems. Thanks a lot.
So thanks a lot, Professor and Netra. I will catch you again, Rashmi. So I quickly introduce Sandaresee Sudusinghe, because they are in Matra. She have a big problem of electricity right now. So Sandaresee Sudusinghe is a poet, a short story writer, columnist, and researcher from Matra, the down south of Sri Lanka. She pursued her Bachelor of Special Degree in Archaeology from University of Perdania, Master of Arts degree in Mass Communication and Journalism from University of Mysore, and Master of Science degree in Archaeology from University of Kelaniya. And she is reading another Master's in Library Information Science from University of Colombo. Currently, she is working in the Library National Museum at Colombo, Sri Lanka. Her recent poetry book, Gini Vantunu Piyath, talks about the Jaffna Public Library burning in 1981. Today, Chandrasee's birthday also. On the behalf of everyone here, I wish her all the best for her future endowments. So welcome, Chandrasee. The space is yours. Please read your poems.
Sandaresee, a very happy birthday to you from all of us here. We are waiting to listen to you. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, actually, please wait. Give me 1 minute.
Yeah.
This is my first poem. Tootan Kamange Sohana Satu, Rattaran Nidane Saha Mamiya, Dakinnata Mahita then Kammaliya, Maya Varunge Dina Dasuna, Mata then Namatakaya, Harappave Rahas Mudra, Soya Evidin, Hitak then Nati Hedaya, Big Ben Kulunalanga, there Vihida Ahasata, Seyaruaka Guliven, Patu Petuman Ahavaraya. ඒ හීන පරයමින් මගේ රටේ ස්වර්ගයට පියාසර කරන්නට පිඹුරුපත් සකසමිය. නලල මැද සිනාසෙන රතු පාට තිලකයට මාතරින් අරන් යන හාදුවක් අමුණමිය. ගෝපුරම් මණ්ඩපම් හදවතේ ගර්භයට සාමේ දෙවුරුවක් නෙලනෙමිය. තල්ගසක් පිරිමදින සුලන් රැල්ලකාගින් පිරුණු හුස්මක් කරන් හිනහැමිය. ජීවිතේ ඉතුරු ටික දෙපාරක් නොහිතාම උතුරු කර පොළොව මත සිටුවමිය. My second poem is Black July.
No, can you please
I
hold on?
tell my...
That's okay. Your translation of the first poem will be read by Geeta Sukumaran. Geeta, can you switch on your camera, please? So Geeta Sukumaran is a wonderful poet, translator, and she has joined us from Canada all the way. And thank you, Geeta, for being with us. And Geeta's work is really elaborate. And I will not go on all that. Geeta is a very dear friend and a wonderful translator. Please, Geeta. Yeah.
Thank you, Mamta. Sandaresee, very happy birthday to you. So I start with the translation now. I don't know who translated the poem. I'm just reading the title now.
Maybe Sundarshri can later on tell us.
Yeah. Jaffna, my heaven. Both of envisioning the tomb of Tutankhamun's gold treasure and the mummy, the calendar of Maya forgotten, I lost the interest to explore the secret seals of Harappa. My wishes to capture myself huddled in a snapshot at the big mighty Ben is outdated. Surpassing all those dreams, I strive to fly to the heaven in my island. A kiss from Matara is affixed on the vermilion dot smiling on the forehead, carving a statue of peace in the inner chambers of the heart of the Gopuram. I beam, breathing a column of fresh air, blowing soothingly through the palmyra trees. I'm planting the rest of my life in the northern soil without hesitation.
Thank you, Geeta. Sundarshri, can you please read the next poem?
Yes.
Do you know who the translator is?
Yes, Chaminda Jayasentu and Mr. Arya Singha.
Okay, thank you.
This is my second one. Julie Upandinaya. Mahadawalaka Julie Kaluwara ඇවිත් සරසවි දැස වැහුවා. අඬන්නටවත් එපා කියමින් කටට මුඛවාඩමක් දැම්මා. උතුරගෙන වී නාව හරහට ගිනි පුපුරු මත සුසර කරවා බලා ඉද්දිම දෙවියෝ පෝලිමේ පාර මැද ගිනි තියා දැව්වා. සිරිපතුල දෑ තින්ම උසවා වෙන්කට්ද කළු අලු අතර උන්නා ඇසල මාසේ කතරගම ගිය නඩේ කොහි හැංගුවද මුරුගා. බාල් දිය කොයි තරම් නම් නුඹ භයානක ආයුධය වූවද ගිනි හිතක් ඔය බාල් දියලා කොහෙ ඉඳන් මුස්සගෙන ආවද. දිය පොදක්ගෙන ඒම වෙනුවට ලේ ගොඩක් පිරවුනේ කොහොමද එදා මියදුණු සාවිත්‍රි මම සිංහලෙන් උප්පැන්නලීවට. 84 ජූලි 16 කොහොම මම මාතරට ආවද කවුරුවත් දැක්කේම නැතුවද මැකූ මොට්ටුවේ කැලල නලලත. ඇත්තටම හිතෙනවා තාමත් ජූලියෙම ඉපදුනේ ඇයි මම තාත්තේ නැලවෙන්නේ කොහොමද මතක් වෙන විට ජූලි කළුවර.
Birthday in July. The darkness of July noon shuts the eyes of Saraswati, donning a mask, shunning the chance to mourn. Sees the heart turning on the flames, the roads burnt whilst the gods witnessed. Venkat found in the ashes while claiming for Sripatula. Went away. The group traveled to Kadaragama, Muruga. Where had they hidden? Galdiya, what a treacherous weapon were you. How is it possible to take a heart of flame in the bucket? Why a blood pool instead of a drop of water? I, Savitri, the one who died that day, though owned a birth certificate in Sinhala. How I came to life, Matara? On 16th July, nobody saw the dot erased on the forehead. I ponder even today why I was born in July. Father, how could I lull as July darkness comes into my memory? Dedicated to the victims of Black July on 16th July 1983.
Ahilan, would you like to tell us something about the Black July?
Yeah, this is in 1983, the mass killings and burned Tamil's shops and houses in Colombo. So she actually remembering those days. That's in the recent times, there's a big violence against the Tamils. After that, only the armed struggles strengthened and the militant movements started and the armed struggle going to the big scale. Yeah.
Thank you, Ahilan. Sandaresee, what a beautiful poem. I mean, it's so like it's, you know, I'm getting goosebumps. Yeah, please go ahead with the third poem.
Yeah. දෙමළ සර් වෙත ගෞරවයෙන් මාතර බ්‍රෝඩ්වේ පාරේ එදා ශිෂ්‍යත්ව පන්තියේ දෙමළ ඉගැන්වූ සිදම්බරන් සර් ආනා ආවන්නා ඊනා ඊ යන්නා ඔන්රු රණ්ඩු ගැනම නොකියා ප්‍රශ්න පත්තරෙන් පිටපැන කිව්වා නම් මොකද දෙමළ හෝඩියද හුස්ම ගන්නා වග දුටුවේම නැත මම දෙමළ අකුරක උණ්ඩි වී උන් දුර දකින කැඩපත දෙමළ යෙහෙළියෙකුදු හිටියේ නැති එකල අදත් අපි අසරණව කරච්චල් රාමුවක සිරව වැළපෙයි අපි නොඇඳි චිත්‍රකට පාට සායම් සොයමින් සංහිඳියාවේ තනපත්ද වේලී අන්දහිරු එළිය යට කියවා ගනු බැරිව දෙමළ හෝඩිය මෙන්ම දෙමළ හදවත්ද නාදුනන බසකින් වැටෙන කඳුලක තබමියක පොට්ටුවක් සිනහවක පාටින් පතා එක පැතුමක් යන්නට සිතා යලි පහේ පන්තියට මුල ඉඳන් අහන්නට උතුරු සුළඟේ නෑකම ඒ තමයි සුබ නැකත අපි ඔක්කොම පාස් වෙන. Thank you.
Geeta.
To Tamil sir with honor. In Mathara Broadway Road, the scholarship class teacher in Tamil, Sir Chidambaram. Ana, Avanna, Ina, Iyanna, Undu, Rendu, not saying, having come out of the question paper to have said the Tamil alphabet. Also breathing, I haven't seen, being carried away in a Tamil letter. The mirror, far not even a Tamil friend, wasn't there. Even today, we are helpless. Sorry. Even today, we are helpless in a frame of a badger weeping in prison for the art we didn't paint, in search of paints, having dried up the cancer of peace. Under the blind sunshine, the Tamil alphabet not being able to read as well as the Tamil hearts. In language unknown, fallen teardrop with only one dot as well as the Tamil hearts. In a language unknown, fallen teardrop with only one drop in the color of a smile, wishing to go away into the 5th standard to hear from beginning the relationship of the northern wind. This is the auspicious time for all of us passing.
Beautiful. What a poem. Geeta, I want you to say a few words about these poems that you read. Because, I also want to now tell the audience that Geeta's research work is very interesting. And she's working on this culinary exchange between Tamil women from Sri Lanka and Tamil Nadu, India. Geeta, please.
I think if I go into the culinary scape, it will become an entirely different topic. Mamta?
No, say a few words about these poems.
Yeah. These poems, as I was reading them, I could see how Sandaresee connects her own experience, her own lived experience with the northern part of Sri Lanka. And it is some sort of guilt, some sort of understanding and some sort of experience that she's trying to map through her imagination, through her experience. And it's a kind of a travel, I think, from the south to the north, and an extension of her thoughts, her words, her being in that sense is herself is moving towards the north.
Thank you. Ahilan, I'm bringing you.
Yeah, I have one question too. So Sandaresee, recently you published a poetry book that speaks about the burning of Jaffna Public Library in 1981. So please tell us why you are handling such a theme after 30 years.
ලංකාව කියන්නේ බහුසංස්කෘතික ලක්ෂණ වලින් පෝෂණය වෙච්ච රටක්. මම හිතනවා අපිට කොයිම වෙලාවකවත් දෙමළ අයගෙන් තොරව සිංහල සංස්කෘතියක් ගැනත් සිංහල අයගෙන් තොරව දෙමළ සංස්කෘතියක් ගැනත් කතා කරන්න බෑ. මේ හැමදේම අතරේ දේශපාලනික බලාපොරොත්තු හෝ මතවාදයන් නිසා ලංකාව ඇතුලේ ජනමාර්ගික ගැටලුවක් ඇති වෙනවා. ඒක ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම හේතුපාදක වෙන්නේ සිංහල හා දෙමළ ජනයා අතරට. ඉතින් හුඟක් වෙලාවට අහිංසක සාමාන්‍ය ජනයාගෙන් තොරව දේශපාලනික බලය සම්බන්ධව ගතු තීන්දුව ක්‍රියාමාර්ග නිසා 1981 මැයි 31 වෙනිදා යාපනයේ මහජන පුස්තකාලයට ගිනි තියලා දානවා. ඒක ජාතික අපරාධයක්. තවමත් කොහොම වෙලාවකවත් ඒ කළු පැල්ලම අපිට අමතක කරන්න බෑ. අපි සියවස් ගාණක් ආපස්සට ගියපු සිදුවීමක්. ඉතින් ඒ සිදුවීමත් එක්ක දකුණු ඉපදුණු මට පුස්තකාලයක් කියන්නේ කොයිතරම් වටින දෙයක්ද? ඒ වගේම අනිත් කෙනාගේ පුස්තකාලයක් හෝ අනිත් කෙනාගේ ප්‍රාර්ථනා බලාපොරොත්තු ඒ විදිහට රුදු විදිහට විනාශ කරන්නේ කොහොමද කියන එක ගැන මට අතුනේ ලොකු ප්‍රශ්නයක්. කොහොමද අනිකාට ගරු කරන්නේ නැති රටක අපි ජීවත් වෙන්නේ? අනික ජාතියක් හෝ ආගමක්, ඒ කියන්නේ භාෂාවක් හරි ආගමක් හරි නිසා අපි මරා ගන්නව නම් අපි ළඟ තියෙන කලා මනුස්සකම් මොකද්ද? මුලින්ම තියෙන ඕනේ මනුස්සකම ලෝක කොහේ හිටියත්. ඒ නිසා මට ඕනි වුණා ලියන්න. හැබැයි ඒ දුක මට පිට කරගන්න තිබුණු එක මාධ්‍යයක් තමයි කවිය. ඉතින් මම එක කවියක් දෙකක් ලිව්වා. ඒ දුක කවදාවත් නැති වුණේ නැහැ. මොකද මම ඉපදෙන්නත් කලින් අවුරුදු කීපයකට කලින් වෙච්ච සිදුවීමක් මේක. ඒ වුණාට ඒක මට හුඟක් දැනෙන්න ගත්තා. ඒ නිසා මම ඒක කවි 110කින් යුක්ත පොතක් විදිහට එළියට දාන්නේ. ඒක ඇත්තටම කවි වශයෙන් සාර්ථකද කියන්නේ මම දන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි මම දන්නවා ඒක මගේ සහෝදර දෙමළ ජනතාවගේ හදවතට කිට්ටු වෙලා ඔවුන්ගේ දුක බෙදා ගැනීමක්, ඔවුන්ගෙන් සමාව ඉල්ලන්න තිබුණු එක පාරක් තමයි මේ කවි පොත. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා තමයි අවුරුදු ගාණක් විවිධ පරිශ්‍රයන් ඇසුරෙන් කාලයක් ගත කරලා මම මේ පොත එළි දක්වන්නේ. මේ සියලුම දේ මම හිතනවා දෙමළ බස කතා කරන ඒ වගේ මුළු ලෝකයේම ජාතිවාදය නිසා අසරණ වෙන හැම මිනිස්සෙට්ටම මම මේ පොත පුදනවා.
I have invited Kaushalya here. I would please, Kaushalya, can you switch on the?
Yeah.
Can you just give the gist of?
Yeah, I'll try to say in English what Sandaresee has explained. She says Sri Lanka is a multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religious society. So we cannot think Sinhalese culture without taking Tamil culture into account, and the vice versa. Tamil culture cannot, Tamil culture. So these two cultures, they are interconnected and interdependent. So because of the political reasons, we had this ethnic issue, and because of the certain decisions these politicians took for power, and as part of this process, in 1981, Jaffna Library they got burned. They burned the library, and then she says, as a person who born in southern part of Sri Lanka, she cannot forget this, and she cannot forget this. The value of a library, what sort of a treasure library is. So if we can't accept the other, so how we survive as a society? And she says she wrote two poems for this, but then she says it wasn't enough. So finally she wrote 118 poems for this book, Ginivedunu Piyapa. And she says this book is a way of apologizing from people of Jaffna, like what happened in 1981. And at the same time, she says she dedicates this book for people in all over the world who suffer from this ethnic discrimination. And this is what she said it very nicely, and I don't know whether I have summarized it clearly. So mainly, I think I should say something about Sandaresee. I think she's a very special poet because she this book of this poetry book, Vidivadunu Piyapak, completely dedicated for this particular issue, this burning of Jaffna Library. That is one of the something that we can we cannot forget, we should never forget, something we should remember again and again. And she did it very powerfully, and doing this after 30 years, after like more than 30 years, I mean nearly 40 years. So then she is kind of a person who try to heal these wounds, and I think her all these 3 poems, if you take all the 3 poems that she read today, and all are like focused on this particular issue, and she's kind of a person who try to bridge this gap and try to heal the wounds we have from this ethnic issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you, Kaushalya. Thank you, Shandasri. So this book about Jaffna Public Library going to translate into Tamil. The poet Kiran is here. I think he is now reading that and editing. I hope at least next year we will have that book. So congrats, Shandasri. And I think we will move, right, ma'am, to the next slide?
Yes, please. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you all.
So Lareena Abdul Haq, our next poet. Lareena Abdul Haq is a lecturer, social activist, freelance writer, poet, lyricist, music composer, singer, and translator. She is teaching Tamil language and translations at Department of Language, Faculties of Social Science and Languages at Saprahamuva University of Sri Lanka. She was a recipient of Sparrow Tyagarajan Literary Award in 2021 for multiple literary contributions. And the same year, she was received Junaida Sherif Award for the literary contribution and the Godege Literary Prize for her collection of short stories. And apart from these awards, she also received the award for her book Porulveli in 2012 by Yal Literary Circle, and Rubarani Joseph Award in 2016 for literary contribution in generally. She has published more than 20 books on poetry, short stories, and a music album entitling Crossing Fires in 2006, produced by the Young Asia Television, and Defend Art in 2005. So I invite Lareena to recite her poems. Lareena.
Welcome, Lareena, to Kaavya Sanje. We are honored to have you today with us.
Thank you so much. Is it audible?
Yes, you are audible. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Dear Ahilan, Mamta, and dear friends, good evening. My first poem, Ira-uru Tiralgail. Kasindolugum Sirutundu Melhuvartiri Oliyil. முதல் இரவு அறிமுகமான போது 3 வயதிருக்கும். விழுந்த பாட்பட்களையெல்லாம் குழந்தைகள் வீசி எறிந்ததில் பதிந்து போன பளிங்கு நட்சத்திர வானத்தோழமை பின்னர்தான் வாய்த்தது. வீடொதுங்க அஞ்சி மரத்தடி அடைக்கலங்கள் வெட்டவெளி தொட்டிலாகையில். பெச்சிம்மா சொல்லியிருந்த பேய்கதை ஜின் போல் கால்கள் மிதந்து வர நிலமதிர வந்தவரை மது ஊற்றி நிரப்பியிருந்தது. கொள்ளி கனல்களை உள்ளே பதித்ததான கண்கள் சிவந்து நெருப்பை உமிழ்ந்தன. காற்றினில் அலைவரும் சின்ன சுடராய் தொய்ந்து நடுங்கி தளர்ந்து விட்டது உம்மாவின் மென்குரல். வந்த இடத்துல இப்படி ஏன் பண்ணுறீங்க? அழுகை கலந்து ஆற்றாமை பொங்கும். பொத்துடி வாய. கர்ஜனை அதிர்வில் திடுக்கிட்டு பயந்து வீறிட்டு அழுகையில் சனியனே வாயை பொத்து. வார்த்தையை முந்தி வயிற்றை அழுத்திய வாப்பாவின் பூட்ஸ் கால் வழி வெளியே வியாபித்திருந்த இருள் திரண்டெழுந்து வந்து என்றென்றைக்குமாய் என் வாழ்வினை நிறைத்தது. கூடுவிட்டு கூடுபாயும் ஒரு மந்திரவாதியின் உயிராய். Nandri.
Thank you. Now I invite Kirtana Kumar. Kirtana, can you switch on your camera, please? Kirtana is a wonderful friend, a very old friend. She's a musician, she is a theatre person, she's a singer, and she's a lot many. She also works with communities. And here is Kirtana, who will read the translations.
Thank you, Mamta. Thank you, Lareena. And this is really in solidarity with all my friends, colleagues, very, very old and good friends in Sri Lanka, all of you here. As night takes shape, when night first made its acquaintance in the light of a waxed wick melting down, I may have been 3 years old. Friendship with the sky, etched with crystalline stars of fallen milk teeth, hurled away by children, happened only later. Afraid to go home, taking shelter under trees, while swinging in cradles out in the open, his legs floating in like the jinn in the ghost story Pechima told, he came, earth shaking, filled with booze. Eyes red like hot coals embedded spat fire. Uma's soft voice was distraught, like the small flame flickering in the wind. Why do you do like this at a place you have come visiting? Despair will rise up with her weeping. Shut your mouth. Startled by the reverberations of that roar and crying aloud, shut up, you devil. Through Vapa's boots that dug into the stomach ahead of those words, the darkness spread outside, gathered to fill my life forever, like the soul of a magician who could switch from one body to another. Translated by Sri N. Srivatsa.
Ah, what a poem. Yeah, Lareena, your next poem, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Kirtana Kumar. Such a nice narration. அதற்கு மட்டும்தானா அதற்கு மட்டும்தானா தடை விதிப்பு வேலிக்குள் வாழ்பவளுக்கான சட்டையை அவர்களே வடிவமைத்தார்கள். அதன் நீள அகல உயரங்களுக்கும் அவளுக்கும் சம்பந்தம் எதுவும் இருக்கவே இல்லை. பேசுதல், சிரித்தல், இன்ன பிற செய்கைகள் மில்லிமீட்டர்களிலும், குனிதல், நடத்தல், இயங்குதல் சென்டிமீட்டர் முதல் சென்டிமீட்டர் வர்க்கம் வரைக்குமாகவும் அளந்து கொடுக்கப்பட்டிருந்தன. கட்டாய கடமைகளின் திணிப்புகளில் விருப்பத் தேர்வு வாய்ப்புகளும் கணங்களும் பஸ்பமாகி பொசுங்கி இருந்தன. இனி என்ன, சூளும் கருமுட்டையும் அமுத சுரபிகளும் இருக்கும் காலமெல்லாம் போற்றி போற்றியே புதைக்கப்படுவாள், இனி எழவே முடியாதபடிக்கு. வாழ்க தாய்மை. நன்றி.
Only for that. They themselves designed the attire for her who lives on the other side of the bar ring fence. Its length, width, and height had nothing to do with her whatsoever. Speaking, laughing, such other acts in millimeters, bending, walking, moving from centimeter to centimeter square were given in stipulated measures, loaded with enforced duties. Opportune choices and moments have turned to ashes. What else? Till such time, womb, fetus ovum, and the perennial feeding bowls are there, glorified non-stop. She would be buried without a trace, never to surface. Hail motherhood. Translated by Lata Ramkrishnan.
அடுத்த கவிதை ஓர்மம். பரவசத்தின் மின்மினி பூச்சிகள் ஊர்ந்து திரியும் இரவின் சாலை பனி குழைத்து பூசியிருந்தது. இருப்பின் தடத்தை ஊன்றி பதித்தபடி அங்குலம் அங்குலமாய் நகர்கிறது புழு. இதோ இக்கணத்தில் ஓர் இரவு பறவை இரையாக்கக்கூடும். ஏதோ ஒரு வாகன சக்கரம் அரைத்துவிட்டும் போகலாம். இன்னொன்றின் வலியை ஆசுவாசமாய் அனுபவிக்கும் உன் போன்ற யாரேனும் காலூன்றி மிதித்தும் சவட்டலாம் தான். என்றாலும் வாழ்தல் மீதான இத்தனை அசாத்திய பாடுகளையும் மீறி முன்னோக்கி தவழ்கிறது சிறுபுழு. வாழ்தல் மீதான இத்தனை அசாத்திய பாடுகளையும் மீறி முன்னோக்கி தவழ்கிறது சிறுபுழு. நன்றி.
Resilience. Night's thoroughfare, where the fireflies of ecstasy creep and wander, has snow coating all over. With resolute steps, leaving the imprints of its being, the worm moves on inch by inch. Here in this very moment, a night bird might prey on it. Some wagon's wheels might grind it. Someone like you, who enjoys the pain of others, so relaxed, could stamp on it and squeeze it. Yet, weathering against all such impossibilities of existence, the tiny worm creeps ahead with perseverance. Translated by Lata Ramakrishnan.
Such beautiful poems. Thank you very much, Lareena.
Thank
Kirtana,
you.
you read these poems. I would like to know your response to Lareena's poems, and in general, this event was necessary and very important for us, all of us, as we know. Would you like to say a few words, please?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Mamta. First, thank you, Lareena. I really enjoyed reading it, and I felt that it the quality of your poems, just it went so into the space of the personal. The political was so outside of that, and yet the pressures of the political were very much felt on the personal. So if we took your poems outside of the context of Sri Lanka, we would still understand them. In India, anywhere on the subcontinent, I feel anywhere on the world, in the world really. And there were so many moments. The first poem, from the child's perspective, right, the complete decimation of childhood. And there's this interesting semantic moment where time flips, because the boots have already come into her before the words have been uttered. I really appreciated that. I really appreciated how a child would comprehend or move with that moment. And in the last poem, the little worm, like in the myth of Sisyphus, the resilience, and how the worm will just keep persevering. So the metaphor of that is not lost on me, Lareena. I really see that. And to extrapolate, Mamta, I feel this was such tonight's, it was really great to be with all of you. I really have to say that at this moment in time, with what's happening in Sri Lanka, with what's happening in India, to listen to poems from Muslim poets from the north, from poets from the south, to understand that poetry is determined to be intercultural, and poetry is determined to be just, and poetry is determined to be a space for multiple voices. It was a very beautiful thing. So I feel very honored that you asked me to be here, and I'm really glad to be here.
Thank you, Kirtana. I have brought in Ahilan. Ahilan, you are here.
Thank you, Kirtana.
Yeah. So, Lareena, tell us the relationship between the religious fundamentalism, female identity, dress, and patriarchy in your poems.
Yeah, actually, it's a good question. What I believe is every individual has plural identities, not just a single identity. Whether it's a woman or a man, one should decide her or his own identity independently. The irony is the others, they can be radicals, feminists, or mullahs. They are trying to impose their expectations and label them on us as our identity. When we are not fitting into their frames, they criticize us, they condemn us very badly. In my opinion, the decision of whether wearing or not wearing a hijab is the right of every Muslim woman. No one can force her what to do and not to do. This applies not only to the subject of hijab, but to every single aspect of our lives. In this society, actually, women are treated as secondary citizens. For example, even in our recent Aragalaya, you all know the protest going in Sri Lanka, a large number of women participated. But when the groups of protesters were invited to negotiation, there were no female representatives there. No specific demands were made for women. In Islamic movements or political parties, or even in Jamiatul Ulama, this is the very common situation. Also, I would like to mention another matter here. Due to this fuel crisis, you all know, when it is heard that women are cooking meals using firewood, some men are praising, wow, and telling this that this is our traditional way of cooking. The food will be very tasty and healthy, while they don't even think about the burden of those women having no empathy at all. Indeed, this male-dominant patriarchal society, they are labeling us while we are having our identity that now I am wearing a hijab, but when I'm working as a social activist in this society, especially when I'm writing some post and criticizing Jamiatul Ulama and all, some mullahs are criticizing, you are not a good Muslim woman. And meanwhile, because I am wearing this hijab, some liberals and radicalists, even some feminists are criticizing me. I am a fundamentalist. So in Tamil, we are saying that iruthalai kolli erumbu. Or else matalathukku rendu pakkamum idi. Likewise, in both sides we are suffering. Actually, we are facing criticism. But whatever it is, the identity, in my opinion, identity should be.
Lareena, can you check your network once? Your voice is breaking. So.
Okay. Hello. Now, is it audible?
Yes. Yes, Lareena.
Yeah. Actually the identity should be measured by our activism, according to my opinion, not because of what we are wearing or not what we not wearing, but this is actually in this male dominant society, patriarchal attitude not only upheld by men, it is also carrying by women as well. Even among our Muslim women, there is no solidarity, or that the thinking pattern is sometimes it is very tiring. Even some Muslim women are criticizing us very badly, but they don't know that we are raising our voice and we are writing and we are making our activism on behalf of them as well. This kind of unconsciousness should be removed from this community and this nation and from this world. Actually, together, I think we can try hard and work hard to make a better society and better world. Thank you for the nice, beautiful opportunity. I have learned a lot from my poets, and I would love to listen to you.
Thanks a lot.
Lareena, your discussion about as a Muslim woman and whatever you are going through is so apt to India at this point of time.
Yeah.
And whatever you said is happening here. And you are answering to that. Thanks a lot for being here and helping us voice whatever you did.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Rashmi, there? Are you there?
No, Rashmi is done. Aazhiyaal has to be invited.
Yeah, no. Because
do you want? Okay, Rashmi is here.
Oh, Rashmi, should I ask a question?
Yeah, please. Rashmi, is Rashmi here? Rashmi, can you please switch on your camera?
It's not there, maybe.
Maybe not there. Should we move on to Aazhiyaal and then come back to Rashmi?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you can send a message to Rashmi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our next poet is Aazhiyaal. So Aazhiyaal Madhubhashini, Aazhiyaal is her name. So Madhubhashini was born in Tringamalli, Sri Lanka. She was an assistant lecturer in English in Vavuniya campus affiliated of Jaffna University. After migrating to Australia in 1997, she had a career change and worked for 2 decades in the public service in the IT sector and commercial management. So her poetry collections, Unathu Pesa, Duvidam, Karanavu, Nedumarangalai Valdal, from 2000 to 21 brought out. Her translation of Australian Aboriginal poems entitled Puvalang Puvalahe Karnadal, Kana Karnadal. So Aazhiyaal received an award for the best poetry collection for her Nedumarangalai Valdal in 2021 by the Tamil Literary Garden of Canada. So welcome Aazhiyaal. We are waiting to hear your poems.
Aazhiyaal, can you please switch on your...
Hi, hello everybody. So the first poem is Adayalam. பிறந்த வீட்டில் கருப்பி, அண்டை நாட்டில் சிலோன் அகதி பொண்ணு, இலங்கை மத்தியில் தெமல, வடக்கில் கிழக்குச்சி, மீன் பாடும் கிழக்கில் நான் ஒரு மலைக்காரி, மலையில் மூதூர்காரியாக்கும், ஆதிக்குடிகளிடம் திருடப்பட்ட தீவாயிருக்கும் என் புகுந்த நாட்டில் அப்பாடா பழையபடி நான் கருப்பியானே. It's written in 2005 and so the actual poem is titled as Identity, but because it speaks about the Black experience, in the translation they use it as the dark woman.
Okay, now I will invite... What is this? I would like to invite Dr. Reshma Ramesh. Reshma is part of Kaavya Sanje. She is a wonderful poet, bilingual poet, writing in English and also Kannada. And Reshma also translates. Reshma is a dentist by profession. Can we? Oh, Reshma, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can you read?
Thank you. The dark one. The dark one in the land I was born in the land across the seas. I am the Ceylon refugee girl in central Lanka. I am Damala. In the island north, the woman from the east, on the eastern shores where the fish sing, I am that hill girl. And in the hill country, the woman from Muttur, in this island, stolen from its indigenous people, in the refugee land. Thank God, I'm like before, the dark one, translated from Tamil by V. Geeta. Thank you.
Thank you. Reshma, just stay on. You can keep your camera on. Aazhiyaal, can you please read the next poem? And I will read the translation of that. And after that, the third poem will be read by Reshma again. Yeah, Aazhiyaal. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. தாயும் 3 ஜாமங்களின் தேவதையும் அவள் நடக்கிறாள் கடந்த 9 நாட்களாய். 9 பகல்களும் 9 இரவுகளும் முழுதாய் கழிந்துதான் போயின. அலைவின் களைப்பிலும் என் மகளை கண்டீரா, என் மகளை கண்டீரா என முணுமுணுத்து பிதற்றுகிறாள் அப்பைத்தியக்காரி. அவளின் வழிப்பாதை எங்கிலும் முகில்கள் உறைந்து கனக்கின்றன. 1000 பறவைகள் அவளை வெறித்து கடந்தன. காற்றோ ஊளையிட்டு பொறுமுகிறது. மனிதர் எவரும் உதவவில்லை, பெருங்கடவுளரும் கை கொடுக்கவில்லை. அவளின் பாதம் பட்ட நடைபாதை நெடுகிலும் பூண்டுகளோ கருகி தீகின்றன. அவளுக்காக எந்த வாயும் திறக்கவில்லை. எவர் கண்களும் அவளுக்காக கனியவில்லை. எந்த ஜீவன் தன்னும் சாட்சியாக முன்வரவில்லை. என் மகளே, என் மகளே என பிதற்றிக் கொண்டு முன்னே நடக்கிறாள் அவள். பாதம் பட்ட நிலமோ இறுகி உறைகிறது. பால் கட்டிய சோழ கொல்லைகள் வேரழுகி சரிகின்றன. பூக்களின் பொன் தாதுக்கள் நிறமழிந்து உதிர தேன் சிட்டுகள் சருகுகளாய் செத்து வீழ்ந்தன. நீள்மரங்கள் நெடு நித்திரைக்கு போயின. பனிப்பாலை, பனிப்பாலை, பனிப்பாலையைத்தான் உங்களுக்கு தருவேன். உள்ளுக்குள் குமைந்து கொண்டு அவள் வழி நெடுகிலும் நடந்தாள். கோடான கோடி ஊசிகளை பனிப்புயல் அள்ளி வீசியது. நிலமுறைந்து நீருறைந்து பொழுது மங்கிக் கொண்டிருந்தது. அன்று 10ஆம் நாள் இதோ அவளிடம் வருகிறாள் இருளிலும் இருளான ஹெக்கேட். 3 ஜாமங்களின் முகங்களுடன் யுக சந்திகளின் நடுவிலிருந்து நேரே வந்திருந்தாள். கேட்டேன் உன் மகளின் கதறலை, ஆனால் பார்க்கவில்லை என திடுமென்று திசையை தெற்கு நோக்கி சுட்டுகின்றாள். பின் அமாவாசைகளினதும் கருப்புகள் அனைத்தினதும் தேவதையானவள் தனது வேட்டை நாய்களை உசுப்பேற்றி முன்னே ஓடவிட்டு தன் இரட்டை தீப்பந்தங்களை உயர்த்தி வழிகாட்டி தாயுடனே விரைகிறாள். எந்த கடவுளரும் கண்கொட்டவில்லை. எல்லா வாய்களும் பொத்திச் சமைந்தன. துரோகங்களினதும் அவமானங்களினதும் பொய்மைகளினதும் அடர் காடுகளிடையே அவர்கள் பயணித்து மாதுளை முத்துக்களை புளிப்பினிப்பாய் சுவைத்த மகளை கண்டனர். கண்ணாரவே மகளை கண்டனர். அழைத்து மீண்டும் வீடடைந்தனர். அளவற்ற ஆனந்தத்தில் தாய் 3 தடவைகள் உழுத செம்மண் வயல்களையும் வற்றாத சாகுபடிக்கான வரத்தையும் அள்ளி கொடுத்தாள் அனைவருக்கும். உயிர்கள் சிலிர்த்தெழுந்து துளிர்க்க சாரல் மலையோ கோளார்த்தமெங்கும் இளவேனிலாய் பொழிந்தது. நன்றி. Thank you.
Okay, the translation goes like this. It's translated by Lakshmi Homstrong, who is one of the wonderful translators. The mother and the goddess of night. She walked and walked for 9 long days. All of 9 days and 9 long nights have passed by. Weary of wandering as she is, the mad woman mutters brokenly, "Have you seen my daughter? Have you seen her?" All along the path she takes the heavy clouds freeze. 1,000 birds fly past in scorn, and the wind howls aloud. No man or woman would help her, nor would the great gods come to her aid. Wherever she walks, at the touch of her feet, all the plants burn and blacken. No one spoke up on her behalf. No eye shed one tear. No living creature came forward as witness. She walks on, mumbling, "My daughter, my daughter." The earth hardens and freezes along her path. Fields of corn, their ears ripe and milky, roar from their very roots. Flowers lose their golden pollen and wither. Honeybirds die and fall like dead leaves, while the tall trees lose themselves in a profound sleep. Wastelands of snow, wastelands of snow, only wastelands of snow will I grant you all. She fumes within as she walks on and on. A snowstorm flings down a million needles. The earth freezes, water freezes, light darkens. Light darkens. On the 10th day, look, here she comes. Hecate, heart of the dark, with the faces of night hours, she comes from the place where time cycles meet. I heard your daughter scream, but I haven't seen her, she says abruptly, pointing to the south. Then the goddess of dark nights and of all things black urges her hounds to run ahead, raises her two torches on high to light the way as she hastens along with the mother. Not a god blinks an eye. All tongues are shocked into silence. They travel through dense forest of betrayals. They travel through dense forest of betrayals, humiliation, and falsehood to find at last the daughter. Find at last the daughter tasting sweet, sour pomegranate pearls. With their own eyes, they saw the daughter. And then, with her, they returned home. In her boundless joy, the mother gave all with both hands, 3 times plowed fields of rich red earth and the promise of never ending fruitfulness. And as all living things thrilled into renewal, a fine rain fell. A fine rain fell throughout the hemisphere, ushering the spring. She has walked and walked and walked. Aazhiyaal, what a poem. Thank you. Thanks, I got a chance to read this. I request you to read the third poem. Reshma will read the translation.
Thank you for the beautiful reading. The third poem, மன்னம் பேரிகள். கால பொழுதுகள் பலவற்றில் வீதி வேலி ஓரங்களில் நாட்சந்தி சந்தைகளில் பிரயாணங்கள் பலவற்றில் கண்டிருக்கிறேன். நாய், கரடி, ஓநாய், கழுகு, பூனை, எருதாய் பல வடிவங்கள் அதற்குண்டு. தந்திக்கம்பத்து அருகே கால் தூக்கியபடிக்கு என்னை உற்று கிடக்கும் அம்மிருகம் துயின்று நாட்கள் பலவாகி இருக்கும். அதன் கண்கள் நான் அறியாததோர் மிருகத்தின் கண்களை பறைசாற்றிற்று. அவற்றின் பாலை தாகம் அறியா பாஷையை எனக்குள் உணர்த்திற்று. அழகி மன்னம் பேரிக்கும் அவள் கோணேஸ்வரிக்கும் புரிந்த வன்மொழியாய்த்தான் இது இருக்கும் என அவதியாய் எட்டி கடந்து போனேன். அலைச்சலும் மனக்குமைச்சலும் கூடிய தூக்கத்தின் இடையில் நானும் அவள்களுக்கு புரிந்த அதே ஆழத்திணிக்கப்பட்ட பாஷையை புரிந்து கொண்டேன். அருகே கணவன் மூச்சாரி கிடக்கிறான். நன்றி. தேங்க்யூ.
The Mannamperi. I have spotted it many a morning beside roadside fences, in the open air market, set up at road junctions, and often during my travels dog, bear, wolf, vulture, cat, bull, it assumes many guises. It lingers near the telegraph pole, a hind leg raised, gazing at me. It must be many days since that animal had last slept. Its eyes revealed those of an unfamiliar beast. Their desert hunger made me aware of an alien language within me. Seeing that it must be the harsh language understood by Mannamperi, the beauty, and her comrade, Koneshwari. I strode past hurriedly while I slept that night, haunted by the day's fruitless travels and pent up feelings. I too understood the very same language that had been thrust deep into both girls. My husband is lying beside me now, his breath relaxed and cool. Translated from Tamil by N. Kalyan Raman. Thank you.
Beautiful poems. Reshma, would you like to say a few words about the poems that you read? Or in general?
Yes, thank you. This has been such an interesting and very emotional session, I should say, because things that have been written and heard are um, very difficult to listen, hear, understand, and I think I need some more time to, get, for to settle in, for it to settle inside me. So, but yes, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I've read all the poems many, many times, and they are so beautiful, so beautiful. Thank you for showing me a world that I had not seen. Thank you very much.
Alia, Aazhiyaal, yeah, this is such, I mean, these poems are so beautiful. And the way, when I read it, as I read it, I have read poems by all the poets, and your poem in particular, all the three poems in a way are connected to each other and speak about this unnecessary fear that has been installed in people, in citizens, in people in general. And they are haunted, they are chased, they have to go through all these political or personal kind of situations. You all the poems, especially your poem as well, it connects so well to us, and I thoroughly enjoyed uh, reading these poems and presenting this poem here in front of you.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
I'm inviting Ahilan here.
Yeah, Aazhiyaal is actually not well. So Aazhiyaal shall ask you a question. Are you okay to talk?
Yeah.
So please let us know who is Manambari and Koneshwari, because that helps the audience to know the historical context, one. And connected with that, what is the role of poetry in witnessing and creating solidarity among the people?
Witnessing, okay.
Yeah, because you also witnessing Koneshwari and Manambari in a different way.
Yeah. So I'll connect that and answer the questions. So Manamperi and Koneshwari, they belong to different, completely different decades. So Manamperi, and also they, Manamperi belongs to a different struggle with the JVP struggle, and it happened in 1971, around in the 1970s in Sri Lanka. And she was only 22 years old, and she was a Dhamma teacher. Actually, she was teaching Buddhism to the young kids, and she was a teacher like that. And when the JVP struggle was, the revolution or the struggle was taking place, the the government or the troops, they thought she was involved. So they captured her, and you know what happens after that. And she was also one of the, that year in 1971, she was crowned as a beauty in her village, you know, little beauty contests they have in the villages. So so it happened in the same year. And after that, she was paraded naked on the roads, and she was raped and killed, and it happened. So she was only 22 years old. So, but when I came to know, she was a teacher of the religion, you know, Buddhist religion, Dhamma. I felt so connected to her. I felt so connected to her. And so that's one side of the struggle. The other side, Koneswari, in that poem, Koneswari is from the east. So Manamberi is from the south. Koneswari is from the east of Sri Lanka, northeast of Sri Lanka. And she was 33 years old, and she had several, she had children, 3 or 4 children of her own. And she was again, so this happened in 1997. So it was a different type of struggle. So the Tamil struggle. So that was a different struggle, Manamberi's, and this was a different struggle. And at this time, again, this lady, she was 33 years old. She was killed, but she was killed in a way, she was raped and killed, and they have planted a grenade in her private parts, and she exploded with that. So the violence, the violence is, even though both struggles are different, happened in 2 different two different communities, 2 different areas, but it happened to what happens to women, you know, at the end of this war game, what happens to these women. So that's the context of the poem. So with that context, yeah, so that was the context. Yeah.
It is no words, really. I don't know.
And but the question you asked was how art,
yeah, witnessing and creating solidarity among the people.
Yeah. So whatever I'm trying to say is to be in solidarity with the current political climate in Sri Lanka, and of course in India as well, and in Tamil Nadu as well, and all over India as well. So the art, it is one of the ways to be connected, and it is the channel. I mean, art, literature, or through poetry or whatever, it is the channel for taking part and standing with the people who see change. And that change, it could be a new beginning, some new beginning, another new beginning. There's not one new beginning or another new beginning. And it acts as a major tool for to stand with the oppressed. By oppressed, I mean to stand with them and to join hands with them in solidarity. So by oppressed, I mean oppressed without opportunities and without choices, and also marginalized in a number of ways. It could be economical, political, and gender, and so on. And And through art and poetry and wherever, through art, wherever we are, it could be beyond continents and seas. This art and narration and everything, they provide a creative landscape. And that creative landscape, even though in a way it's imaginative, but it's a real one as well. It is a real, so that's the witness, the real one as well. To be connected with the marginalized beyond race, language, and religion, or any other difference for that matter. And through this act of solidarity, that act of solidarity happens beyond space and time as well. And so I could relate that witnessing between Mannamberi and Koneswari. And that act of solidarity could be between the indigenous Australia, Aboriginal Australia, and also a migrant woman like me. So that was in relation to my first poem. So the migrant woman like me and the indigenous Australia. And also the poem between the mythological Hecate and the mother and the kidnapped daughter. So it could be between the mythology and realism. And there are so many ways to be interconnected. And also in witnessing, there is a raw spirit and a vital force, a humanity. So these are several ways. There are more ways to be connected to it. And through art, this act of solidarity goes beyond space and time. That's what, and it's the raw spirit. That's with that only we are able to connect with that. Those issues, those real issues. And as Shashank said before, it all leads to, as art, we prefer it leads to a peaceful, a just, and a better world. That's what poetry, art, or all these forms allude to. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. That was wonderful. And now I invite our wonderful friend, curator of this evening, Ahilan, to please present your poem. Shashank will be reading the translation. I also invite Shashank. I will introduce Shashank later. Ahilan, please.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. Malai. மார்கழி மாதத்து நிலாவில் இருளும் குளிரும் ஒட்டி இருந்தன. எல்லா அறைகளிலும் தூக்கம் நிரம்பி இருந்தது. அவன் இருந்தான். அசைவற்ற சாளரச் சேலைகளில் முடிவுறும் யுகங்களை பார்த்தவாறு. அவனிலிருந்து அவன் வெளிவந்த போது நீரைப்பாடும் தவளை குரல்கள் பேரமைதி கொண்டன. ஒரு தேகத்தின் இரண்டு தேகங்கள் எதிரெதிர் அமர்ந்தன. அவனின் இன்னொருவன் புன்னகைத்தான். இவன் அவனிடம் பேசத் தொடங்கினான். மடை திறந்த மழை கொட்டத் தொடங்கியது. அவன் அவளுமானான், இவனுமானான். ஏலோலம் பாவாய். Thank you. Over to Shashank.
Thank you, Shashank. Shashank is also part of Kaavya Sanje, and he is a designer, he is a poet, he's a bilingual poet. He writes in English and Hindustani, and he also translates along with all of us. And lot more to tell about Shashank, but now I invite him to read the poem.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Ahilan, for the poems. The first one is entitled translated by Geeta Sukumaran. Untitled. On a long path at night, when the fire rages, we both walk as one. When my love for him turned to lies, I called on the darting lightning that intersects the rainy storm, and nightmares to rekindle our friendship sever me into pieces we burnt in the abyss. The mountain darkens like a great spell. There is nothing left to disintegrate. Surprised, I laughed derisively at the images on the flesh of my heart. She sees a madman. Hatred relinquishes everything and everyone. When there is no need to wait anymore for this or that, he remains a poor man, a blot on the earth. Spinning around, time sits on my solitude again.
Excellent. So the second poem, யுத்த ஆடைகளின் மெய்யுருக்கள். குண்டுண்டு பாழடைந்த சுவரின் மெல்லிரில் தன்னொளியில் ஆடைகள் முளைத்து பரவின. நெருப்புண்டு கருகி இட்டொடிந்த வெளிர் நீல ஆடை. சாவு இரத்தமாடி கலங்கி அடையாளம் காணவியலாத சிதைந்த ஓராடை. நாட்பட்டு கிழிந்து பிளந்து நாராகி போன மணநாள் பட்டொன்று. ரவை துளைத்து மண்ணிற கட்டமூட்டவோர் ஆண் சட்டை. மேலாக பட்டு விலகிய சீழ்மணம் மாறாத நெடு வேட்டி. கீழாக வீழ்ந்து படிந்து வேர்விட்டு நிழலூறி படர்ந்த மாதவிடாய் துணி பந்து. மருந்து திராவகங்கள் காய்ந்து வறண்டு சுருண்ட காய துணி படுக்கைகள். இராணுவ சீருடை கீழ்ப்பாகங்களில் ஆழமான விராந்தை. உரையேறி தொங்கி காற்றில் நின்ற ஒரு கை வெட்டுண்ட குழந்தை சட்டை. தரை நீண்ட பிணத் துணியில் எழுதாத சாட்சியங்களை எழுதத் தொடங்கினோம்.
Images of war clothes. In the long stretch of wall ruined by swallowed bombs, garments emerged, spread, eaten away by fire, burnt, tattered, a pale blue cloth coalesced into another fabric with death's blood oozed, ravaged, and unidentifiable. An aged wedding silk ripped and shredded from its end, gouged by bullets, a man's shirt spread out. A ball of menstrual cloth rooted from the shadow of the banner of dhotis with an unending smell of pus. Next to that, near the dried gauze clothes drenched in lotions, a long, cluttered line of strips of military uniform. Dangling in the howling wind on the roof, a child's clothing with a lacerated sleeve. On the stretched out death garb, we begin to write unwritten witnesses.
Thank you. The last poem, வீடு திரும்புதல். நினங்களின் பேராற்றங்கரைகளில் கொத்தாய் எரிந்தார் நினைவுகள் கலக்கின்றன. படைக்கலன் தாங்கி நடந்தார். படுகளங்களில் ஆசை பகிர்ந்து கணத்தில் மறைந்தார். எவருமில்லா பாலையில் திரும்புகிறேன். கரைக்காத அம்மாவின் தேகச் சாம்பல் தொண்டை குழியில் அடைத்து கிடக்கிறது. முதுமையில் தனிமையில் மரக்கால்களை ஊடுருவி தைக்கும் உள்ளேற்று நடக்கிறேன். பின்னால் பிறந்தவள், எப்போது வருவாய் என கேட்டு சலியாதவள், புதைந்த இடமும் அறியாது திரும்புகிறேன். உறவோர் சிதறி வெறுமையுற்ற வழிகளில் குறிச்சியும் பகுதியும் கிழக்கும் மேற்கும் முறிந்து வேறாகி கிடந்த நிலத்தில் சன்னம் தைத்த சுவர்களில் இருந்து வெடியோசை கிளம்பி தேகத்தை விடாது துளைக்க வீடு திரும்புகிறேன். வீடில்லா ஊருக்கு, ஊரில்லா காட்டுக்கு. நட்சத்திரங்கள் நடுங்குகின்றன, வெறுமை முகில்கள் கனக்கின்றன. இந்த பிறப்பில் இனியொரு நாளில் யாரை மறுபடி காணுதல் கூடும்? எதனை மறுபடி பெறுதல் கூடும்? வீடு திரும்புகிறேன். நள்ளிராவெனும் பெரும் பொழுதில் வெட்டையும் பாலடைவும் கண்டல் சிதலும் மூண்ட காய பெருந்திணைக்கு.
Returning home. On the banks of oozing flesh converge memories of those burnt in bunches. I'm back in Pale, where there is no one. Those who marched with weapons, those who shared their desires and vanished in the battlefields in a trice. The ashes of my mother, undissolved, choke my throat. Old, alone, I walk, bearing the thorns that prick, piercing my wooden legs. I walk, not knowing where she lies buried. She, who was born after me, never tired of asking, when will you be back? The barren land where my family is scattered, where Kurichi, east and west, lay shattered and separated. The shrapnel perforated walls still reverberate, with explosions piercing my body. I return home, a homeless village, a villageless jungle. Stars shiver. Someday in this birth, will I ever see anyone, or will I regain anything? I return home in the everlasting midnight of nothingness, of wretchedness, bruises and pus, to the parenthinae of wounds.
My God, Ahilan. You know, we also have with us Geeta Sukumaran, who's translated Ahilan's poem. I would request Geeta to switch on your camera and please join us. Geeta, yeah. And Shashank, in the meanwhile, I would like to ask Shashank to respond on the poems that you read.
These are not very easy poems to read, rather very overwhelming. I mean, it's not a very, we are in so many ways familiar with this world. And at the same time, there are so many things that we miss out, you know, on knowing about the world, you know, on truly empathizing with the world. Although it's perhaps the case in every part of the world today, right? But I think these poems, you know, bring us a little more closer to this realm that Ahilan has created, perhaps knowingly, unknowingly, of, you know, what happens just after violence or what happens just after death, right? That world which is perhaps not entirely living or non-living, but, you know, in between, where, you know, landscapes and these objects speak and how. So, you know, yeah, it's way too sort of overwhelming. Beautiful, Ahilan. Thank you for the poems.
Geeta, can you please, you are a wonderful translator and you have brought these poems so beautifully into English. Please, and you, both of you have been in touch with each other since long and working together and in translations and bringing out poetry collections. Please tell us a little more about Ahilan's poem, Geeta, and your process of translating them.
Thank you, Mamta. It has been such an inspiring hour to sit and listen to all these different poems, voices, languages. Thinking about Ahilan's poems, it is a journey for me. Like from the moment I opened, actually it was the second book I read first. It's the second volume, and it's the language, the images, the entire treatment, like how the words come across in his poems, entrapped me like completely, and that's how I had even started translating. Although I had harbored this idea of like wanting to translate, but there are also, like, I think many of us have experiences. There are certain books, certain lines, certain words that just grabs you, that you really cannot let it go until you do something with it. Either sometimes we write a poem based on, inspired by those words, or then we translate. So with Ahilan's poems, that's how I ended up translating them. And to think about the process of translation itself, it was this great urgency to translate was one part, and the other part was I read a lot of secondary the essays about his poetry, and I had like very long, intense conversations about the choices of his words. There's a lot of things that I combined in the translation, like the Google images that I could find, because his poetry was essentially act of witnessing, and there are so many even the people, the speaker in the poems are all like real life people. So it's these images, it's all these writings, and even the writings about the conflict, the words, they all became like part of the process of my translation. And I think that's how I
And
reached here.
Ahilan's poem, I feel, is so visual. It is so deeply visual that you can see things. The way he, not just the way he composes it, the way he uses the sound of Tamil as well. Because I have read the translation, I just loved the way he presented it in Tamil. It really shows you. I could start seeing the violence, the war, and amidst that, and what was happening. And as you said, Ahilan, you have been one of the witnesses, like, your poem shows us what is happening. I would want you to please tell us. I just can't ask you why you wrote these poems. All of us know why you wrote it. The way you wrote it, and what made you write it the way you have written it, Ahilan.
It's difficult because, so actually, maybe my translators and my friend knows, actually I am living. That is my problem. So I identified the characters, they appear in poetry, actually me, they transfer into me. So I think I have a very strong traumatic sense in my mind. Still I am living with that. Actually, the poetry is a healing process for me, myself. I heal myself through writing poetry. So because all the years I lived under the war, I saw the blood, the pulse, whatever, the darkness, everything, the hunger and everything.
Hello.
So it's already bound.
That was a very beautiful translation.
So actually, I don't know. So without poetry, I can survive, because that is the only way to heal myself. That is my answer. So this process of healing, process of maybe witnessing, but I heal myself through my poetry.
Thank you so much, Ahilan. And now I would like to, and thanks, Shashank, for reading it so beautifully.
Thank you.
So I would like to thank you, Ahilan, for bringing all this together. And maybe we can take 10 minutes for the audience. We can keep it open. If anybody wants to, please be really brief, because today's Kaavya Sanje was so interesting. It went for 2 hours. And I know poets and everybody might be really tired. We'll just stay here for 10 more minutes. And if anybody wants to say something, ask something to Ahilan and other poets, you are free to do that. You can just put your hands and switch on your cameras, and yeah. Okay. It's actually, it's very difficult to do that as well after such beautiful series of poems. Here is somebody. Can you please tell me your name? So you should unmute yourself, please. It's written in Tamil. I can't read Tamil.
Mr. Chandrasekaran.
Chandrasekaran. Yeah. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm coming for this meeting for the very first time. some good Samaritan forwarded a message, and I was curious to listen to some good poetry. I was really very, very impressed. It's very difficult to get nowadays poetry from other languages. I'm a Tamilian, and I look for poetry from other languages, but it's very difficult to really get a chance. And it's a wonderful experience. And I was so impressed with the kind of poetry. It's like you have to be a Tamilian to understand the pain and sorrow which Ahilan has brought in. And as he says, if he is healing himself from the wounds of the war, and I can only sympathize with him. We are with you, my friend. And please, please send your details. I am involved in other groups which enjoy poetry and promote poetry and release books. And I would like to take you to another forum. And thank you very much, Ms. Mamta. And if you can add me, if you are a group or anything, you can add me, and I will try to attend.
Yeah, we announce on Facebook, Kaavya Sanje Facebook, and you are most welcome to. It's an open group.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for yeah.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Is there anyone else? Or yeah, Venkatesh, yes, please. You have to unmute yourself, Venkatesh.
Thank you. That has been one of the finest.
Can you please, in 2 lines, introduce yourself? I also should have asked Chandrasekharan. Yeah.
I'm a lawyer, practicing lawyer from Bangalore, who has been practicing law 36 years and working on human rights, representing the most marginalized and people who have been accused of terrorism and other charges. Been doing it for decades now. And I know the pain I have heard from the person, the kind of challenges, the difficulties that I face. And today I felt so wonderful rendition of poetry which catches the angst, which catches the pain, which catches the kind of experience one has gone through and every moment of it. In such few words and such depth, I think my language fails. I was just messaging Mamta, my language fails to appreciate each one and the perspectives from each perspective, the kind of, and it's such a long journey from 70s movement of JVP movement to the present day. I thank Mamta. I think this needs to be recorded, the recording needs to be given. We would like to share it as a podcast. We would like to see that this go to the large network of people in our Reach Lawyer. We also done a group called Reach Lawyer, which is thousands of members who are concerned across the globe. And we will be sharing this with all of them because it is such wonderful thing. I was just checking the kind of translations that have happened. What kind of lovely translations? It was such a joy. I think I was already talking. If it is not published, Kaavya Sanje should publish, and I am going to be part of it.
Thank you. Thanks.
Needed, much needed.
Thanks.
Much needed. And such, thank you very much for the program. I think the recording needs to be made available so that we need to share it to more people.
Yeah.
This needs to go.
Thanks. It will be shared. It will be shared. Thank you very much. And our dear friend Kush Patel is saying that if there are any organization or communities in Sri Lanka that might be collecting donations or crowdsource aid, please do share those links as we think and act in solidarity. So, Ahilan, please keep this in mind. Yeah. Thank you, Kush, for that. Thanks a lot. Is there anyone else? If there aren't any other hands up.
Mamta ji, you asked me about me. I'm Chandrasekharan. I'm a retired investment banker. I worked for 25 years in Bahrain and Kuwait, and I'm retired. Currently, I'm in the US.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much. You have attended. It's morning for you, and you have been with
Yes,
us.
it is. It
Thanks
is.
a lot for that.
I
Thank you.
am very deeply involved with two other associations, which Tamil poetry and stories, which is Kuvikam and Virucham. And
Okay.
now we're trying to promote writers from Sri Lanka. We are trying to organize a meeting for them. That's why I'm very keen to get in touch with them.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Okay, if there aren't any others, I think it's time for us to wind up. Ahilan, thank you very much. And you know, for us from Kaavya Sanje, it has been very important. We have been responding to whatever is happening. Right now, we are in our country in such a situation that we need this solidarity makes a lot of like sense to us, you know. We inviting you and asking you to present poems is also kind of voicing against certain things that is happening in this nation, and also calling people and telling them that we need not worry and we need to be together and speak aloud, talk and say and share whatever is happening. And your curation gave us that possibility, Ahilan. Thank you very much. And it has been a wonderful evening. And thanks to all the friends who came and read the translations. We just, Kaavya Sanje is open group where we celebrate multilingual poetry, and our language is poetry. We speak through poetry, we resist through poetry, we argue through poetry. Poetry is a tool and everything for us. Thank you, Ahilan, and all the poets who presented today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I will now stop recording.